Hello, friends. I'm Leslie Penelope, and if you don't know me, I'm a fantasy and romance author. Today, I want to talk to you about using a decision matrix to plan your goals for the new year. So, I'm recording this at the end of December 2024, and this year has been overwhelming. It's been packed with activities, packed with travel, events. I was run ragged. I did 5 trips in 6 weeks. I traveled so much. I talk about this in my podcast and on my Substack. But basically, 2025 needs to be a year of no. And I've recently reframed that to a more positive spin. So 2025 is going to be my year of hell yes. If it's not a hell yes, then it will most likely be a no. I'm limiting my travel, I'm limiting my events, and I'm really trying to focus on projects and activities that are going to move the needle and that are going to feed me energetically and that I'm really excited about. So that is how I came to this decision matrix. I learned about using a decision matrix quite a while ago, and I've tried it before, but I'm really committing to it. And so I thought I would share my process. And I actually have a free template that you can use. It's a Google Sheets template. There's a link in the description so that you can use this weighted decision matrix in order to plan your new year in a way that is not going to be overwhelming, hopefully, in a way that will be structured and will allow you to make decisions based on some criteria that you're going to set. So let's dive right in. The first thing you're going to need to do when you open up the decision matrix is to make a copy for yourself. So go ahead and go File, make a copy, and you can give it a different name if you want, like My Weighted Decision Matrix. You're going to see that there is an app script file because I have some code in there that makes it sortable, and it's going to give you a little warning, and you'll also have to confirm that you want to use this script. There's nothing dangerous about it. It's just some code in Google Sheets that will help the functionality of the file. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. Okay. So you have the instructions tab here, which gives you an overview of what you should be doing. So the way that it's going to go is you're going to choose 5 criteria, and these are what you're going to be using to evaluate your activities, so your goals and your projects. Each of these criteria is going to be given a weight or a score about how important it is to you, and then you're also going to score each of the activities or the goals or the projects that you're going to add to the matrix. The first step is choosing your criteria. So I have an example here. One of your criteria might be payment. Money is an important factor in our business decisions. And so each goal or project that you're going to be adding to the matrix, you're going to give a score of 1 to 5 in the criteria of payment. So this is my example. And a 1 means that it's an unpaid opportunity. Sometimes that's speaking at a conference or an event. It might be some other activity that, sending out a newsletter is not really, unless it's a paid newsletter, it's not going to be an obvious source of income. So that gets a 1. A 5 for me on this example is that it pays really well. Now, really well is subjective. You can give that a numerical value if you want, but it's really going to depend. Like if I teach a workshop that pays well, that's going to be a different number than if I write a book that pays me very well. I'm traditionally published, so if I get an advance that I consider a really great advance, that's going to be a vastly different number than if I'm a keynote speaker at an event, which might actually pay me well for that kind of event. So you have to come up with your own ranking, your own score for what 1 through 5 mean. A 2 is a nominal payment or a low potential for revenue, depending on the activity. 3, low payment, some potential for revenue, and 4 is a decent payment and a high potential for revenue. This is just the criteria that I've come up with on my matrix. So in addition to money, some other criteria that you might want to use to fill in your other 4 slots might be building your brand, increasing your book sales, networking, things that stress you out or don't stress you out, and creativity and joy. You're going to have to choose the 5 things that matter the most to you and to your business. So here is my criteria that I've chosen for 2025. Again, we have payment as the first one. Creativity and joy is also really important to me. So 1 to 5 for creativity and joy. An activity will get a 1 if there is no creativity or joy produced or required to do it. It gets a 5 if it's really exciting, it's inspiring to me, and 2 through 4 are just along the line on that spectrum. My third criteria for evaluating what I'm going to be doing is time and energy. Does it require a lot of time and energy or a little? So if it's not a lot of time and energy, or it gives me energy, it gets a 5, a score of 5. So 5 is the best, 1 is the worst. Or if this is an online event, time-limited event, it's not requiring a lot from me. On the other end of the spectrum, if it requires a lot of time and energy, if it's out-of-state travel, that's a 1. It might be something that I want to do, but on the time and energy scale, it's costing a lot. I'm living in the DC area, so an in-person event that I have to drive to, basically everywhere I have to go is 45 minutes to an hour in the DC area. That's going to be a 2 on time and energy. Writing a novel, also a 2. It takes a lot of time and energy. Lots of marketing tasks that I don't enjoy doing, and then on down the line. The fourth criteria item that I have is growth potential. So that's for my business, for my books, general growth, and again, this is personal to me. This is something that I've chosen. This may or may not resonate with you. A 5 on my growth potential scoring is I'm being exposed to a large targeted audience. So there's a lot of people who really love what I do, which is fantasy and romance with Black protagonists and themes that have to do with the real world and our society. Another example of a 5 for growth potential is an excellent networking opportunity where I can network with my peers and, get a lot of energy, maybe have other opportunities come out of that. You never know what happens when you are meeting people, forming friendships, forming potential future business partnerships. Something that I would rate a 1 would give me no or extremely limited exposure. A 3 would be a small audience, and maybe there's some networking. I really encourage you to think through what a 1 through a 5 would mean on each of your chosen criteria items, because it will make the next part of filling in your matrix so much easier. Finally, I have values/brand support, and this is my author brand. So this goes to my why. Why am I writing in the first place? Why have I chosen this career? What do I want to put out into the world? Those are things that I think are important when I'm making my decisions for what I'm going to be doing for my projects and goals. So a 5 on this item is I'm giving back, I'm helping others, it supports the things I stand for and believe in. A 1 does nothing to give back or support others or feed the world. For this one, I've chosen a 3 is neutral. It's sort of like, meh. A 4 is like, I believe in this thing, but I'm also trying to follow marketing best practices or market best practices, which doesn't necessarily align with me feeling good about what I'm putting into the world. It can, but they're not mutually exclusive. But often the things I'm doing that are like a 2 would be following a trend or the suggested best practices for a business. They don't always align with the things I feel like feed me, give back, and represent what I believe in. Hopefully that makes sense. So these 5 are the things that I've chosen. Your 5 might be something totally different, and that is totally okay. Once you have your 5 criteria that you're going to be using to decide, the next tab in the decision matrix, which is the sortable matrix tab right here at the bottom, this is where all of the magic happens. So you'll see here we have our title, we have a button here for sorting, a button for creating a new line. We have a place where we can enter our 5 criteria items, and we can put our weight in. So let me go ahead and enter in my 5 criteria that I've chosen, and then we'll talk about weighting. So there's some sample weights already here, but now is really the time for you to go through and evaluate how important these things are for you. Again, this is a scale from 1 to 5. So for me, payment is important. At all parts of your life and in your career, money might not be the most important thing. If you have a full-time job that you really enjoy, that pays you well, then maybe you're going to weight other things more important on this matrix. At this point in time, I'm going to give payment a 5. Creativity and joy, for me, also a 5. It's extremely important that I'm either fed creatively or that I find joy in the tasks that I'm doing. So when I'm entering things, I'm going to weight that higher in the scale. Let's say time and energy is less important to me. Say I have a lot of time on my hands. I'm not really worried about my energy output. It's still on there. It's still a factor, but it's going to be weighted way lower than the creativity and joy. and the money. Let's say I'm really more interested in my growth potential, in growing my audience, in networking with people. Those things that we put into the rubric, that those things are, I think the fives and the fours are just really much more important to me. So overall, I'm rating this category a 4. And then values and brand, let's give that one a 3. So it's middle of the road. It's important, not the most important thing, but still, I'm going to weight it fairly heavily. This idea of things that, for me, choosing this criteria item, support my values, my brand, stand for what I believe in. It's putting something positive into the world. Going back to the why I'm doing this in the first place. These are just some sample numbers. Each of your criteria items, go through, give it a weight from 1 to 5. So again, I'm saying money and creativity are my highest priorities, then is my growth, then is my values and brand, and finally, time and energy. Now it's time to identify your potential projects, your goals, the activities that you might be doing next year. Make a master list of every possible thing you want to do, you could do, you should do, you've heard about. I've been keeping this list all year, so that was kind of easy for me. But if you haven't, this is an activity all its own, like creating this possible list. So this master list are the things we're going to be plugging in to the matrix and weighting them, sorting them, and figuring out what you're going to be doing. So you have to have it somewhere. You might need to take some extra time to brainstorm this if you haven't been making a list of potential ideas already. This is definitely a step that is as important as everything else in this entire process. I've created a long list of things in a notebook. I went to several conferences this year where I was seeing what other authors are doing, getting ideas for projects. Things that are on my list include the new books and stories that I want to be writing, and specific activities like maybe doing a special edition of a book, writing the third in the trilogy, plotting a new book to sell to my publisher, having new covers for old books, increasing the frequency of my author newsletter, doing a course on plotting, creating some additional worksheets on world building, actually opening my Shopify store, which I've been building but haven't pulled the trigger on, selling more merch. So it's a wide variety of business activities for my writing business that includes writing the books, marketing the books, and then the other activities that I'm doing in my business. Your business is going to look different. Write your master list and then meet me back in the matrix. So you can see here I have a sample goal or activity here, which is to start a newsletter. Now, let's go through. These are just sample numbers that I have in the spreadsheet, but let's redo these, thinking them through. So if I'm a new author and I want to start a newsletter, it's not going to pay me anything. There is a potential for income because a newsletter is a good way to market your books and sell your books. But for me, looking back at my rubric here, there's a potential, and this is my opinion, so you could have a totally different opinion as to how you're going to rate this. I would put this newsletter being unpaid, even though it does have a potential for revenue, my gut is telling me that this is just going to be a 1. The weighted matrix multiplies your rating times the weight of the criteria. So that means my score is a 5. You're entering your ratings. The spreadsheet itself is calculating the score. That's why this field is lighter. Creativity and joy for starting a newsletter. I am going to be writing this every week, let's say. I'm going to be putting something in it. Maybe this is going to give me a 3 on creativity and joy. It's something that I enjoy doing, talking to my audience, in a medium way. It's middle of the road for creativity and joy. Time and energy. It's going to take quite a bit of time and energy, which on my rubric is actually a 1. So things that cost time and energy are low. Things that don't and that or give me time, or give me time, but they give me energy would be a 5 on my rubric. So that's getting a 1. Growth is going to stay a 5. So a newsletter is a great way to expose myself to my audience, to stay in touch with my audience. It's going to mean growth potential for my career in general. And as far as values and brand, I think this one is a neutral. So how is it supporting the things that I believe in? My author brand, which includes, giving back to people, helping others, promoting a worldview that I believe in, that's a 3. So if we scroll over here, and each of these, again, the rating is going to be multiplied by the weight that we've given that item, that category, that gives us our score. All the scores added up are here. It's a total potential of 95. So if everything was a 5, based on our weights, that is the score we could have. We have a 51 for this item, which gives us a total score of 54%. That is, if you're thinking about grades, what is 54% in E? That's not great. Let's put in another one. So to add a new line to this matrix, click the new line button. It's going to run the script. You're probably going to get a notice that you have to approve the script. So when you're first using this, you're going to get this authorization required message because it is running a script, and Google Sheets has a level of security that requires that. You're going to get the message that it wants access to your account. You'll have to allow it in order to use the script. There is no way that I can see anything in your account. It's just how the script works. And then it adds a new line. If you would prefer a less technical way to do this, I have included a simple version of the matrix that has the formulas built in. It doesn't have the automatic sort, but it does give you a number of rows with formulas already baked in that you can do the same process. So that is in the third tab there if you would prefer not to use the sortable automagical version of the spreadsheet. In our next line, let's choose another potential project or goal. So let's say that it's going to be a writing goal. I'm going to write a short story for an anthology. So payment. Let's say I'm going to get paid for this anthology, but it's a nominal amount. It's something that you're submitting, and you're going to get a small amount of money for it. Nothing crazy. You put your rating in and the score is automatically calculated. Creativity and joy. This is a short story that you're super excited about. I'm going to give that a 5. Once you enter the number and click away from it, then the formula will calculate your score. Time and energy for writing a short story. It's going to take some time, not as much as a novel, but I'm going to give it a 3 because not a lot of time. It's short. For growth, this anthology is going to expose you to a decent sized audience. You are with other authors and they're going to be promoting it. So let's give that a 4. And values and brand. Is it doing something? This is something that you believe in. It's best practices. But let's say it's a themed anthology, or maybe it's a charity anthology for something that you really believe in. So that's going to get a 5. The total score is 72, which is a 76%. That is a high C. That's not terrible. Like based on the other option you have, it's doing a lot better. The other big button here is the sort button. So as you add lines, you want to see what goes to the top. You're going to click the sort button, which is going to run another script, and it's going to automatically resort based on your total score here. So now we can see, and if we make this a little smaller so we can see the entire thing at once, writing the short story for the anthology is at the top because 76 is higher than 54. As you create new lines and add new projects or goals to this matrix, you will sort them and see what bubbles up to the top. Maybe you've been invited to present or to join a panel at an online festival. So participate in a panel. You're not going to get paid for that, so that's going to be a 1. Creativity and joy. Maybe you really like it's an interesting concept. You really wanted to go to this event. That's giving it a 4. Time and energy. You do have to travel to it. Let's say it's in your area, but it's going to be like an all-day thing. I would give that a 2 personally. If for growth, let's give this a 5 for growth. It's going to be a big audience there. Lots of networking, lots of fun, cool people. And let's give it a 5 for your values and branding. Stands for the things that you believe in. Go ahead and click sort, and you'll see that this is a number 2 activity now, participating in this festival. Maybe you really want to participate in the festival, and this doesn't seem quite right to you. You can either look again at the ratings that you've given each activity. If your gut is saying, this is something that I think is way more important than writing the short story for the anthology. And then take a look at either the weight that you've given your criteria or the rating you've given the activity. So maybe if it's something you really want to do, and values and brand should be higher, and maybe creativity and joy should be a little lower. And that's going to change your numbers. It doesn't actually change the order of things, but you can move things around as you change, as you reevaluate your own, the things that are important to you, how important they are to you from day to day. Maybe you get a full-time job, and so money is much less important to you on the scale, but creativity and joy are very important to you. That can change things depending on how you've rated everything. So you can play around with these items and the scores, the ratings and the weights until you get something that makes sense. But the beauty of having this matrix is a semi-objective way. You create the criteria ahead of time. It's just a matter of entering something, a new opportunity that you might be wanting to engage in, and then giving it the ratings. Part of that is your gut, part of it is intuition, and seeing where it ends up on the scale, on the list. Okay, let's say that we are going to use the matrix to determine which writing idea to focus on and to prioritize a bunch of different writing ideas that you have. Sometimes you have lots of ideas and you're not sure what you're going to work on next. So let's try it. So what are the criteria that we're going to use to figure out our writing ideas? So maybe instead of payment, let's say marketability. Now, you can use this if you're self-publishing. You can use this if you're traditionally publishing and you're trying to figure out what is your next project that you are going to submit to an agent or to your editor. So I would change 1 to 5 for, try to figure out what marketability means to you. If you were looking at the top 100 bestsellers on Amazon for your specific category, maybe number 5 is has a popular category on Amazon, and the idea is like really, you understand how you're going to market it, so like easy to market. Something that's popular. So if you're writing a romantasy featuring dark fae, enemies to lovers, things that are really popular, on the one, it would be like a very niche, unique idea that isn't easy to market. Now, this is just an example. For some people, a very niche, unique idea would be a 5 instead of a 1. And it just depends on, again, why you're doing this, why you're writing. You have to figure out the criteria that you are using. This is just an example. So maybe we have marketability, maybe we just have energy and excitement. Like there's certain ideas that you just viscerally feel better about. Now, if this is, this might not be easy to determine, which is why you're using the decision matrix, but you're rolling it into the pot. It might be something like research needed. Are there some ideas that are historical that you're really going to have to spend a lot of time researching? Are there some that are more contemporary that maybe you're not going to? I might choose another criteria. Have I already started this? Is this something that I've been working on for a long time, or that I started a couple of years ago and never got a chance to finish? So I would maybe put status here. And so a 5 would be something that already has a draft, and maybe I can just go back and revise it. And maybe a 1 would be, I just have the spark of an idea. I don't have an outline. I'm not actually even sure what this book is yet. It's just, I have some sort of inspiration. Maybe in this scenario, a 3 would be, I've got a decent idea. I have a lot of ideas. I've already written an outline. Maybe length is something that you want to keep track of. Like, is it a short story? Is it a novella? I would think that something short, I would rate it higher because I know that I can do more of them. If this is a very long idea or if it's a very long series, that might be a 1. And then say a novella is going to be a 3. So we can add in lots of research. Status already has a draft. Also a 5 might be part of an existing series that is doing well. That would be a reason to give something a 5. So once you have figured out your criteria for your rubric and all of the ways that you're going to be categorizing it, let's go over to the simple matrix this time. I'll show you how that works. Let's weight it. Let's say marketability for me, let's do a 4. I'm really more concerned about energy and excitement. I like doing research, so that's going to be a 5. Status isn't as important, and length is neutral. So let's take this weight and let's do my short story idea. All right. Marketability for the short story, it's a really popular genre. There's a lot of short stories doing really well in this genre, so let's give it a 5. For energy and excitement, I'm not sure how much I want to write it. Maybe I'll do a 3 for that. Like, I'm kind of neutral on it. How much research is needed? There's not going to be a lot of research needed for this particular story, so let's give that a 5. The status, it's a brand new idea that I have really little idea of how I'm going to do it, so let's give that a 1. And the length, this is short. In my rubric, I am doing short stories as a 5, so let's keep that as a 5. Our score is 77, it's 81%. Let's say you have an idea for a romantic comedy, a rom-com novel, and maybe your third idea is going to be a nonfiction book, just randomly. So my rom-com novel marketability is pretty high. Nonfiction, let's say you want to do like a travel memoir or something. That's going to probably be a 1 for marketability. Energy excitement, however, for your travel memoir is super high. The rom-com novel, you're not really that excited about. It's something you could do, but you're kind of dreading it. Research needed for the rom-com. There might be some research. You're going to be doing fiction. I generally think most fiction is going to take 3. The nonfiction, you're writing a memoir, probably not a lot of research, let's say. The status, let's say you've always been dreaming of this nonfiction memoir book. Let's make it just so we remember what we're doing here. The rom-com novel, the status, let's say you have an outline for it, so that's like a 3. And the length, this is going to be a medium length, maybe like a 60,000 word book. The travel memoir, probably, let's say it's about the same length, and let's give that a 3 as well. So we come over here. These are neck and neck, and at that point you might want to reevaluate, take another look, do some soul searching and see, maybe this is a little bit more marketable than I thought. Maybe I've seen some really, nicely selling memoirs, and I think I can actually bump that up a little bit. Maybe, if the marketability is high here, still no energy and excitement, look at these again and take another look. So in this instance, if I bumped that number up, this puts us at a 64. Again, this is the simple matrix. It doesn't sort automatically, but you can still take a look, and you can also sort it manually using Google Sheets. So that is an example of how you can use the matrix to weigh different story ideas. It's just a matter of picking what's important to you and how you want to determine your criteria for your story ideas. So some tips for being successful with this weighted decision matrix are to really be honest with yourself. I think it's going to require some soul searching to figure out what your categories are, what that criteria is that you're going to be basing your decision making on. Figuring out how you're scoring things. Being realistic with your time and your energy, your resources, your priorities, what is important to you. This decision matrix is less helpful if everything is a 5. It still works to a certain degree because each activity is probably not going to be a 5 in every category, but really thinking hard about what you care about, what you want your year to be, why you're doing this in the first place. Those are valuable activities for figuring out how to prioritize your time and your tasks. I also recommend that you revisit this matrix regularly. New things are going to crop up all the time, new opportunities, new ideas. You're going to learn about things that other people are doing. There's new technology that's coming out. People might invite you to things. And you're going to need a way to figure out how to make a decision about all of these things that are coming at you. So revisit it, use it, start small. Maybe you're not putting every single thing on your long list of possibilities here right now. You can do some culling first and then just use this to prioritize the top 5 or the top 10. Or you could dump everything in here and just see where it all lands. Sort it. You might be surprised at how things come out in the order. So basically, to recap, you're going to want to create your criteria, create your rubric for how you are rating. What does 1 to 5 actually mean? Then give a weight to each of your criteria, and then start using the matrix to put in your tasks, put in your goals, put in your projects, and score them. See how they measure up, and use it to prioritize what you're going to do first and what you're going to do next. You can download this free template using the link in the description. It gives you access to my resource library with other templates and useful tools that are going to help your writing business and your author career. And yeah, please subscribe so that you can get more tips for writing, craft, productivity, goal setting. I love this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I have more content planned, so join me so that you don't miss out. I'm really excited about getting my 2025 plan into gear, using the matrix. It's already been really helpful. I've already actually learned a lot from plugging in different items and different events that I've been invited to, different ideas I've had, and really seeing, okay, how does this measure up with the things I say that I believe in and the things that I want my business to be doing and I want myself to be doing energetically and for my growth. It's just been really eye-opening. So I hope that it helped you. Please leave me a comment letting me know if you're using it, if you have other ideas for how to set your goals and your priorities for the coming year. And I hope that you have a wonderful and happy new year. And I'll see you next time.